We're going to look at another poem in the Edexcel English Literature Poetry Anthology from the relationship section. And this one is She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. Okay, so a little bit of context. Byron, one of the great Romantic poets, capital R Romantic, along with Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, and others of that ilk. He was born in 1788 and died in 1824, relatively short life, died at the age of 36. Um, Similar to Keats, who died at the age of 26, I believe. A lot of these Romantic poets died young, um, which may have been a side effect of them living fairly free and wild lives. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. You can look it up if you want to know a bit more. So, like Shelley and Coleridge and Keats and Wordsworth, Byron was a romantic poet. So, he focused on emotion, sentiment, nature, in a reaction against all the scientific logic and reason that was rising to prominence with more scientific research. So the Romantics formed a political and social movement that rallied against this kind of soulless, as they saw it, logical look at the world, on a worldview that was more to do with empathy, beauty, uh, love, nature, um, to more hedonistic, um, making taking joy in pleasure. And Byron certainly was a man who took joy and pleasure. He was quite scandalously renowned in his day for the many lovers that he had, of both sexes. And to a lot of people, he came to represent the kind of gothic anti hero. And somebody famously described him at the time as mad, bad, and dangerous to know. And he actually left England in 1816 to go and live abroad and spent quite a lot of time abroad. He is an aristocrat. He is a lord, um, hence Lord Byron. That's not his first name. He was a lord. And so he could enjoy traveling. He lived in Italy for 7 years before he went to fight for the Greeks in their fight for independence against the Ottoman Empire. And it was while fighting in Greece that he caught the fever that would kill him at the age of just 36. So She Walks in Beauty is a lyric poem, and it was published in a collection called Hebrew Melodies and was intended to be set to music. And lyric poems are poems that are intended to be set to music. And that was because the lyre is an ancient kind of stringed instrument, and they were the poems were written to be accompanied by a lyre, and therefore they are lyric, which is why song lyrics are still called lyrics today. Okay, there's a few archaic words in this poem because it was written in the 18th century, I think. Certainly the beginning of the 19th, end of the 18th. It will say the exact date in your anthology. So climes means climates. Um, Aspect is in your aspect is your appearance. A tress is a lock of hair, a strand of hair. Eloquent, to be eloquent is to be expressive. That isn't archaic. We still use that word today, but I guess it's a bit old fashioned. And then a few more terms. Lyric poem, I've already just described what that is. It's a poem with musical rhythm that's designed to be set to music, and it focuses more on thoughts and emotions rather than storytelling. We know what iambs are. Iambic is a verse form with a rhythm of an unstressed and a stressed syllable in each foot, so 2 syllables to a foot. And then this is tetrameter. There are 4 of these feet, so these will be 8 syllables because each iamb is 2 syllables long. So you've got 4 stressed syllables in each line. And that's the rhythm of it, but the form of it is that it is written in sestets, so they're 6-line stanzas. And you can see that when I show you the poem here. 3 sestets. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies. I'm just showing you how it's iambic, da-dum, 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 and not pentameter because it's not 10 syllables. There's not 5 iambs, there are 4. So it's iambic tetrameter, this poem. Very regular rhythm. and a regular rhyme scheme as well. Night, skies, bright, eyes, light, denies. You've got a regular A B rhyme scheme, and that continues throughout. Less grace, tress, face, express, place, brow, eloquent, glow, spent, below, innocent. Okay, so it's a very regular poem, and you can talk about perhaps the fact that his love will never end because the rhythm and the form is regular. Um, there's three stanzas. They're made up of 6 lines, so everything kind of fits together and divides by each other like the perfect fit, you could say. Because this is a poem very much about a true romantic attachment relationship. So I'll read it through, and you can think about how the persona is feeling about the person that he's speaking about. What ideas about love does this bring up to you? She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. So it's a very sweet, very romantic poem. It does talk about how the woman looks, but it also talks about her personality, her goodness, her sweetness, her innocence. So it's kind of that she's beautiful inside and out. And it also shows a slightly different um, view of love uh, from perhaps the normal or the more traditional, because traditionally you get kind of golden hair and blue eyes. And in this one, it does talk about her raven tresses, raven, of course, being really black. Um, and this is because one, Byron liked to be different. Two, he's a romantic, and romantics find the dark more appealing than the light. It's it's more kind of sublime. There's more of a beauty in moonlight than sunlight for someone, for a capital R romantic. But also because obviously he's spending a lot of time in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and the women there would have had dark hair. So there's also that as well that goes for it. So we've talked about the form and how it's very regular, regular rhyme scheme and rhythm, and regular stanza length and line length. You can look at it, just looking at it, it's a very regularly written poem, linking to the how pure and regular his love is, and how it will go on forever and ever and ever in the same way and never unchanging. That's what you could say about this one. Um, of course, you've got a metaphor straight off the bat. She walks in beauty, like she is, not that she is beautiful, she literally walks in beauty. It's all around her, it encompasses her, it envelops her. She is beauty almost. And then you have immediately a simile, like the night. And as I said, the romantics would favour night over day. Um, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies. And you've got the alliteration here and the sibilants there, bringing attention to that quite beautiful imagery. Cloudless climes, meaning there's nothing to mar the beauty of the sky, nothing to spoil the beauty of the sky, no clouds at all. It's pure, it's blue, it's perfect. And starry skies, the beauty of the stars. There's a lot of light imagery in here. Um, Light relating to beauty, truth, honesty, perfection, I'm going to put here. And all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. So all that's best of dark and bright. So this isn't a poem that thinks that darkness is a bad thing. There's beauty in darkness as well here, as you can see by the starry skies. So you've got a juxtaposition here of night and day, of dark and light. And again, if you look at all the light kind of imagery, we've got starry, we've got bright, we've got light, we've got day, we've got ray, lightens. There's loads of light imagery in this, showing, the kind of perfection of this woman. She lights up the room, which is a phrase we still use today. And so everything that's best of dark and bright meet in this woman. She is perfection. She takes the best of light, the best of dark. And but it's mellowed. It's not too bright. Gaudy means too bright. But she has mellowed the light to be just perfect, to that tender light. And again, that's a metaphor because light can't really be tender. You could even say it's personification, because tenderness is like an emotion you can have. So something gentle, something beautiful, that heaven, as in the heavens, skies, make night that light, gentle light with the moonlight, rather than gaudy day. The sun is too bright. And then he goes on to say how perfect she is, and because of the amount of light she has in her. So if she had one shade the more or one ray the less, that would have spoilt it, that would have half impaired it, spoiled the grace which she has. But she doesn't. She has the perfect amount of both. And look at the juxtaposition here again of this light and darkness, with the shade meaning dark and ray meaning light. Okay. And the grace waves in her hair, basically. So it's again a metaphor, or even personification, if you're thinking of wave as like a hand wave, but I think more of a sea wave kind of thing. That it's like you can imagine her long flowing dark hair, and he's saying the grace waves in even every strand of her hair. Even her hair is graceful. Or this light, this perfect light, lightens over her face, and shows, all her features to be perfect. And then he talks about, he's talked about her outward appearance and her beauty and her dark hair. And then he talks about what's inside her mind as well. Her thoughts are serenely sweet. So you've got the sibilance there. And that all expresses how pure she is and how dear, meaning kind of, not dear as in expensive, but as in beloved, their dwelling place. So the thoughts are personified there. They live, her face, her head is their dwelling place. So it's the personification of their thoughts being happy to live in this beautiful face, basically. And you've got the caesura here bringing attention to each of those words: pure, dear. And then the final stanza talks again about not only her physical perfections, but her mental, spiritual perfection as well. So honour that cheek and that brow. And the kind of using of the word that and the repetition there is, it's like specifying that, like it's the perfect one, on that cheek and that brow, not her, that, as if it's held up to be the very epitome of perfection. It's that one, if that makes sense. And again, you've got your caesuras here bringing attention to the lovely adjectives he's talking about. So soft, so calm, yet eloquent. Eloquent means that you're able to speak. And so he's talking about her smiles here, or the look, the expressions on her face. So he's personifying that the expressions on her face itself and her smiles can speak words, because they're so perfect, and to look at them, you understand them. So the smiles that win, again, that's personification, isn't it? The tints that glow, again, all this light imagery still showing how beautiful and glowing and ethereal she is. Ethereal meaning of the air, of heaven, almost like an angel. And he's saying all this beauty and this light that's over her face is showing what a good person she is, but tell of days in goodness spent, that she must have just be doing good things to look this beautiful. A mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. And you've got the juxtaposition of mind and heart here. So it's like your head and your heart. So even people tend to say you're going to listen to your head or your heart. They're both two different things. One's the seat of emotion and one's the seat of logic. And he's saying here that both are perfect in her. And you've got an exclamative line in this last one just to show how in awe he is of how perfect she really is. So that's She Walks in Beauty. And you could usefully compare this, I suggest, to poems such as La Belle Dame, Sans Merci, because they're both written by romantic poets. And this would be quite a comparison because the Byron poem is very much in awe and in worship, but in a very good and positive way about the person he loves. Whereas La Belle Dame is also kind of awe and worship, but it's much more of a negative way, like he's in under the spell of La Belle Dame. And even though Byron seems to be under the spell of this woman, it's not an evil spell as it seems to be in La Belle Dame. So you could compare it to that, but also Sonnet 43, which is also an outpouring of over the top hyperbolic love for somebody, just as She Walks in Beauty is.